Okay, yeah, everyone. Hi again. My name is Mas. I'm with Kokoro Restaurant, as I mentioned before. It's my family's restaurant. We started it when I was 6 years old in 1986. I was that kid in the typical Asian restaurant, family working very hard, and all the waitresses and other staff members were my daycare. A lot of them are still with us today after over 35 years. Um, so it's a great experience to have that. Um, but I think when you're in the industry your whole life, literally when you're a little kid, finding your peace and your balance between what your life looks like inside the restaurant and outside the restaurant is not always easy to do. So that's been a struggle. Um, we're coming up on the 1 year anniversary as well of the racist shootings that happened in Atlanta at the massage parlors. And we had a staff meeting the following day, just by coincidence after what happened. And, I just took a moment with the staff and said, how's everyone doing? Checking in on all of you, and how's everyone feeling with what happened? And a lot of tears started falling, and a lot of, pent up emotions came out. And I realized at that point, part of my job, well, I think I've always realized, but I think to another level, which I found my responsibility to be a better steward of understanding people's mental health as much as their physical health is important, and also to be there for myself, to make sure that I took care of myself and my mental health with everything that goes on with my job. So here we are. I found CHOW, John and Aaron, Chef Aaron. We've met at a few different restaurant association events, and then the CRA has been like, yeah, let's get this CHOW going and let's see what we can do to help. And you guys are doing so great on your own. It's wonderful to see. But I wanted to be here and show my support. But going back to where my story is, my career path after graduating from college was to do politics. I was going to move to DC. That was going to be my life. And a job fell through right after I graduated. I'm like, well, instead of taking and looking for another job, why not just work at the restaurants for my family's business for a little while, and kind of run things for a bit, and then look for a job. And then that went from being a couple month type job to being a GM at one of our stores and fully immersing myself in the restaurant. I was at 100 to 110 hours a week in the restaurant, and just burnout was huge. And I knew I needed to find something else. So I thought I'd go into nonprofit work in San Francisco. I moved to San Francisco with no money, no job, no nothing. I think trying to follow the shadow of my father's path in life. And didn't find any quick work or nonprofit right away. So found myself working in restaurants. Again, imagine that, right? And I took over like a creamery style restaurant, like diner style food and ice cream parlor. And pretty soon after being hired on as a GM, this guy would keep coming by on a little girl's bicycle every day asking for a job as a dishwasher. And this guy just kept persisting. And I'm like, man, he's on, what looks to be a stolen bicycle. Like, why would I hire this guy? But he was really persistent. And after maybe a week or two, I hired him and just saw this guy really turning his life around. Wanted to devote himself to a job, wanted to see himself move in his professional career. And he was getting clean. He had been clean for a couple months when he was looking for work. And he was doing quite well. Anyway, he worked himself up to being my assistant manager. And for about 6 months in that role, I started to see a decline in his performance and how he was doing and what was going on in his life. And I took a a route that I really regretted in my life. Instead of reaching out and confronting where he was at with his recovery and trying to bring him in and trying to talk to him more like a friend than as a boss, I feel like I would have been a better impact in his life. But yeah, he one day got in a fight with his girlfriend, and it was obviously he had been using again, and he ended up taking his own life. And that was a hard moment on so many levels. Being the manager of a staff, 50, 60 employees that were really, really close to this guy, how to lead them through something like that, get them the support that they needed. That was really hard. And then it was a real big look in the mirror for myself too, about what was going on in my life. And was I in the job that I wanted to be in? Was I doing what I wanted to do with my life? Was I taking care of me the way I needed to take care of me? And it was obvious at that moment that that wasn't what was going on. So that's a very, very impressionable moment in my life. And I think about him often, and the decisions I made. And, I know people say it's not your fault, not your responsibility, or all that kind of stuff. And I think that's true. But I do know that I could have done more and I could have done better. And that's okay for me to say for myself, that I didn't do what I needed to do. May not have changed the outcome, but it's not absolving me from saying that I could have done things differently. And so I've seen that very much as a calling for myself since then. I came back to Denver after about another year of kind of looking for the right job, the right fit, and not finding it in San Francisco. I thought I moved I thought I moved to Japan to find a career out there. Pretty easy when my family was all out there, even though I don't speak Japanese. There's plenty of jobs for English only speaking people. But when I came back, my family's restaurants were not in good shape. They weren't being run by the right people. There's a lot of shady activity going on, a lot of money being stolen. And I said, I'll stay around for a year. And that turned into what now has been, 15 years. I've been running the restaurants now for 15 years. So it's quite a journey for myself to get to here. But here we are, and some of the things always still hold true, right? Mental health is a serious thing that needs attention all the time. It's not something that you fix or solve, and then you turn around and say, okay, the pots are cleaned, and so my job is done, and I can go home. Mental health is something that, how I see it at least, is something that's a continuous work in progress. So it's not something that's just fixed, so to speak. And it feels more important than ever that we're here to address it. So that's why I'm here. Speaking to a few other notes about like how I'm finding myself and trying to find my peace, my balance, where I try to find my zen. It comes in places that you don't expect it to be necessarily. I think once I knew that I wanted to take over my family's business, that was the first bit of peace I found in my life in terms of like the big pillars of what you want to have go on. It was about a year into running the restaurants that I found that peace. I was 29 years old. And that was my first anchor. I'm like, all right, I want to do this. I want to take over the family business. That was the first thing that came into place. And then it really put me into a whole lot of goal focusing and prioritizing and sacrificing, to the point where I was able to buy a house. And then after some time and searching, I found my wife and my dogs. And, not to say life is perfect, but if you'd asked me when I was in San Francisco, when my assistant manager committed suicide, How would you feel if I told you your life was going to have X, Y, or Z, and that was going to be definitive answers, and you weren't going to waver, you weren't going to question what to do? I would have told you that would have been the wrong path in life for me. But really, those things have been really awesome to have, and I'm very grateful that I found some things to hold me, to ground me, to spread and grow some roots. So I feel really good about that. Aaron asked me to talk about some of these things, and I can blab on, but you know, I would say to everyone here, finding that work-life balance is been really hard for me, still to this day. I think that's probably my number one struggle, is when to turn it off and when to have it on and be focused. Sometimes when I'm focused on work, other things outside in the personal life ask for my attention, and vice versa. Sometimes I'm out with the wife or walking the dogs and I get the work calls come in, and I have a hard time finding that work-life balance. But I think one key thing that I'm working through right now, or I've kind of really picked up on in the last 7-8 years, is getting up early in the morning and just carving out time for us in the day. You know, I think everyone here, tell me if I'm wrong, but restaurant jobs, aren't they like so a mixture of routine and chaos at the same time that I don't think other people understand, right? I mean, the routine is, you know, you're going to get dressed, you're going to do certain things, you're going to run to the restaurant, you kind of know what to expect. But you also don't know if you're going to be working Saturday night, Sunday night, Monday morning, Tuesday morning, you know, like what days you're going to be in, who's going to be working with you, you know, what kind of drama are you going to have come into your job that day. And it's so not a 9-to-5 job. Kind of see you nodding your head, like you were at the restaurant show, so you know this from the other side of this. When we go to restaurant shows, I see all these salespeople, and like, man, so this is the other side of the restaurant job that we don't know in the restaurants. We work Monday through Friday. They work 8 in the morning, 9 in the morning till 4 or 5 in the afternoon, and then that's kind of it. That's their day, and that's them trying to get out of some of the. Well, actually, that's their only reason. I'm sure they have plenty of reasons, but that's one of the attractions to being in sales or in other parts of the job, where rather than being in the restaurant itself, is you want that routine that's kind of more in line with the rest of society. But all of us know that that's just not the reality of our jobs. So I'd say one thing I've kind of learned over the last 8 years is try to start my day early, rather than finding myself like, okay, what time do I need to work? And that's when I'll get up. I really make sure I carve that time out for myself every day. I can't say it's a routine or a set schedule that I get to do it at the same time every day, or that it works exactly as planned. But I definitely know that every day I have to make some time for something other than like just decompressing from a shift and watching TV for a little bit. Like I have to do something or focus towards some other goal outside of work. Aaron, is there anything else that you want me to kind of speak on that I'm not hitting on?